In the object-oriented programming, the next one is about descriptors. What are descriptors? By the name of that, it says about describing something, right? Descriptors. If I say, how do you control the variables when you're getting the values? What are the things we do with these variables and how it is? If you remember the earlier example which we discussed is, say every variable when you're creating, it will have a life cycle, right? So if you create any variable, it will be first created. When you modify, it will be modified. When you delete, it will be deleted. So that kind of things, if you want to do, so we need to go for something called as property decorator. So what is this property decorator? How it will help, I will tell. Say like I have a small class, so called as a subject, which I created. Small class called as subject, which has a class variable called as count and two instance level variables. And all are like public variables. I'm not taking anything confidential or something. So now if I want to retrieve the values, so if I want to get values or so and so, maybe in real time, right? So I want to make use of logging, so that everything, instead of printing, I want to make use of logging. So maybe like the basic config I will do. So the basic config logging.debug. So wherever I go, I make use of this thing. Now if you see, I created like 4 things. Means I created a class. In this class, I have a constructor. Till here, you know. And these are like ordinary methods. So everything is taking self. These are instance level methods. And in each method, when I'm going, I'm doing a logging.debug. I placed a debug setting such that it will print. Now, did you see here? I did a get value, set value, and delete value. By the name itself, it is saying about this value. And did you see here? It is a public variable. But did you see here what I did? It is like a protected variable. But did I define a protected variable here? I didn't define. But so I am using that. So how it actually works? So can I create a thing star and will it work? So first I will check for this particular object. I am creating a instance and I'm asking to print it. First, initially, let's take that print. In the constructor, we are taking anything, but we are not displaying. So how it works, let's see. If I go ahead into this Python 00 so and so, you can see that it will execute, but it will not display anything because you didn't make any print. Now let me make a small print to ask, hey, what is the value of s.name? Because s.name and s.dozen are two things. Dozen is something constant which you are not touching. If I print it, it will print. So whereas s.name means it will give Uday. So first of all, where I defined Uday? When I define this, because constructor is taking one more extra argument, I'm passing it. So till now it is clear. Now I want to change this value. Whenever I'm changing this value, maybe, the class instances are immutable objects. When you have defined something here, you can change that also directly. So with respect to the class instance, if you have an attribute, if it is a variable, I can update it. Instead of Uday, I want to change to Prakash. Now when I execute, did you see what happened? But sir, why I wrote these methods, they are not getting executed at all, right? That could be a question. So now when this will be executed means I need to use something called as a property. See, when I define something like a property is a built-in function actually. I need to define. So after defining these 3 methods, I'm passing. This property will take care of the life cycle of any object instance. From this class, you create an instance called as yes. For this variable yes, for maintaining the entire life cycle means what? First creation, then so modification, then deletion. These are the 3 states, right? For that only get retrieval. So, and like creation and updating both here, and deletion, all 4 states. Now this time when I execute as I registered, did you see what happened? If you can notice compared to the earlier one, so now these functions are executing. You can understand now what's happening. Means whenever you are registering any name as a property, so that will happen with respect to it. So for this property, if anything changes afterwards, that will make a relation. In the evaluation process, it will go in the sequence only. You can give like a get, then setting, then delete. It doesn't mean that the name should be exactly like this. You can have any other name also, but in a sequence, it will take like this. What are you give? So the first method, it will treat like for retrieving values. So second method, it will treat like for creation and updating. Third method for deleting. But if you see in every case, first it executed like this. So when retrieving and others. So set is also done. Whenever you are updating, set is also executed. Maybe like every time I will make a empty print such that you will understand the evolution. So you see here, I write like this. Now you can see much more clearly. Initially, when it was created, did you see the first set method was executed? So at that time, this method is this variable is created extra. So at that time, so now when you are updating it, so doesn't also it printed, but like next when you ask it for name, it is asking like this. So dozen is also a variable, right? That you also retrieved, but for that variable you didn't have anything. Even if you do like so s dot dozen is equal to something else. So say like s dot dozen is equal to some number if I give. So it will not do like that. If I say it is like 12, instead of 12 I give 13, but nothing will execute specifically for that. So these are all registered for this name only. So for every variable we need to do like this whenever you want to control the entire life cycle. At the same time, if I go for like the vars, that's where you will understand. Vars is something which will give the attributes, right? Instance level attributes. If you see vars, did you see for that, though there is a name called as a name, but did you see what is that you have? When you are accessing directly name also, it is going to that underscore name only. Means you have two names. One is protected, one is public. But public you can access, but indirectly it is referring to that private only. So protected variable only. So at the same time, like name, can I access with underscore? So like this also we can access right now. Now the same thing I'm asking with an underscore. When I ask directly with underscore, did you see that it didn't execute this method? Did you observe? If I can make a empty print here, so you'll understand. So if I clear the screen, you see now, whenever I asked that underscore name, of course, it's not a good practice. When linters will tell, don't use like that. But did you see what happened? So whenever you have any variables where you want to maintain the entire life cycle, so internally you do with the protected variables, but outside you work with some public variables. So hope now you understood this entire concept. Now the last point about the deletion. Till now this deletion didn't work, right? Because we didn't delete it. How do you delete an object? So if you want to delete, del is a built-in function. With that we delete. If you can access anything, it will delete it. That's the beauty of it. So now if you see, whenever I'm deleting, this delete method is also executed. And after that, if I ask dir, did you see that underscore name is no more present? You deleted that object. So now, can I access with underscore name and underscore like this? So these two values are not there, right? If I ask what will happen? So it will throw an error. Hey, you are asking name, which was deleted. Okay, I commented. So I clear the screen and I'm asking. If I ask underscore name also, it will throw an error. So both we cannot access. Attribute errors. So hope you understood this concept of it. Only when the main object is there, the other object will be there. Because here within it, you deleted the pseudo one. If you don't delete sudo1, so it will not work. But whenever you want to manage the entire life cycle, that is where this will be useful. So this and similarly, if I ask for now with a attribute error like that, so things will work now. CLS. So it worked. When I asked for dozen, nothing will happen. As property name is entirely associated with this one, any changes if you do for the dozen attribute, it will make no sense. Hope it's clear now. Now, if you want to make the things much better, in real time, you will not write like this. You want to make sure something better. So in that case, you can use the property decorator. In fact, a decorator is a function, right? You are passing everything. If you remember, decorator is also a function, right? So we can pass, but the decorator takes functions as an input. In this case also, you can see this decorator, this property function is taking functions as an input, right? So that's what. So here also we can do the same example, but slight modification. So instead of doing the entire thing, the previous example I will take and modify. If you see in this example, the same previous example I brought, but the little change I did is that instead of I writing like explicitly like a get name, get value, set value, get delete value, for all the things I write the same name. Did you see? Whenever I want to modify name, did you see for all methods, the name is name only. So if you define like this, if three methods are having same name, you already know it will lead to method overwriting. But did you see for every method, there is a decorator on top? By default, if there is a property, it means like indirectly property dot getter. But like for others, we should explicitly write. Did you see for the first method, when you want to retrieve, for that you write a property. But did you see for others, I didn't write property dot setter. I wrote name dot setter. I wrote name dot deleter. This is what you need to understand. So instead of we writing like this, separately registering, we can write these three on top like this. If you write like this also, the same things will execute, whatever we did earlier. So when you are executing, so the process will follow. CLS and Python 01, it will execute. So this is like modification. The same execution, same outputs that you have noticed. It has no attribute, everything it will say. Now, these are all for modify, so handling the lifecycle things. Let me give you one more example. Say this time I want to execute something. So maybe like in this level only, in the descriptors. Yeah. So I want to create one more thing. If you see now, fine. I created a person class. I have a constructor. I have a method called as email, and I have like a name. And also in the previous example, I forgot to mention the most important thing. So till now, this property, so we modified like this, right? When you ask it a name, I want just name. So it will go to this method. Means though you have a general variables, you can access directly, right? But this variable, when you ask, this function will be, method will be called. Means methods were converted like this into this. So that's why if you ask someone, what is a property decorator? Property decorator will make us to, call methods like a variables. That's what it says. Even in this example, you see, I wrote like an ordinary set of variables. I have an email and I created a new one called as full name. So if you go for like frameworks like Django or so and so, so if you want like every database will have some variables, right? Tables. If you want like an extra, pseudo fields or like logical fields. So in that case, we can go like this. So here you didn't define the full name. Full name is an attribute, right? But I can access it directly. You see now what will happen. I created an instance called as Uday and Prakash because it takes two values. So if you, and you can ask this first and last names. So if you ask like first and last names also it works. And the email also I can execute. So if I ask like first and last names and an email, so these first two are attributes. This is like a method. So both will execute like that. So Python 02, if you can notice. So these were all but did you see the full name? Full name is a method, right? What do you expect? It should be like callable, right? So I do this similarly. So person1 dot full name, I make a call. So when I make a call, did you see that what it is saying? So type string is not callable. But sir, this is a method, right? So I didn't now manage the entire life cycle. I didn't do a setters, getters, everything. Just I wrote like this. So the moment you place a property decorator on top of any method, it will become like a ordinary thing. So means like if you want to ask, you need to ask like this individual value. So though it is a method, you should call like an attribute. It will internally do this logic. General common sense full name means what? It should do the combination of first and last name. So first and last name are the two things we have. So we can add a property and do it. Similarly, if you want like maybe like capitalized first name. So full name in uppercase, full name in uppercase. It is a method I have. So what I need to do? I can do like a property decorator on top, and internally I can do it. I can take that, get the value. So instead of getting all entirely, so I can get the entire value and I can do it here. And the final result, maybe I can do a dot upper. Like this I can do if I don't want to make complications. So how do you access this one? This is also like an ordinary variable. So print of f of so person1 dot so and so is equal to. So how I'm accessing this full name? So like that I can do this one also. You see now, if I execute, so I got like person name and full name, both the things were done. So this is how it works. So though it is like a method, I'm able to access directly. In fact, like now a small assignment for you. So instead of you defining here, this is also a method, right? So you can access like self.full name. Can I do like this? You give a try. So if you do like, instead of like this, if I do like a self.full name, so dot upper, if I do like this, will it work? So I think like it works. Even I can try before. So full name is like a method I'm accessing directly, right? That's what I want to show you. So the moment you write a property decorator, the method will turn like into an ordinary attribute, and you can access like an ordinary variable. So like this variable. So especially when you're using Django applications or anything, ORMs, like especially you want logical columns. If you have two columns, like this is a good case. If generally in tables you will have first name and last name, but if you want a full name or like full name as per ISO format or something else, so all those things you can write. So it will take those two columns, join the values, and give you the right result. So like that. And if I go for this property decorator further, it's a very interesting thing. So it can do a lot of things. If I can come back on the same things, you see what other things are happening. So now in this case, I wrote like full name as we have seen previously. If I just write property, it means property.setter. But it is like first retrieving the values only. But if you want to update, I told right. So you need to do dot setter. In the previous case, I just want to retrieve the value. And this is another thing, full name dot upper I want to do. But this is also retrieval. But I am not modifying this full name. I'm not updating and doing right. But in the next case, if I want to update, so set values. If someone want to set a values, they can give a name such that it will be split into two parts and assigned to first and last name. And you see in this example, I'm initially taking what are the values. For the full name, I want to assign someone called as Shyam Bengal. So, and it will take this value, split to two parts and assign to two things. So if I see this, again, finally the values will be changed, the original values. So property, if you see now, initially the first and last name are Uday and Prakash. So lastly it became Shyam and Bengal. So like that, you can use these things for any of their work. Hope you are comfortable. So like this property decorator can work on all these things. I told again the flash. So if I give for the same example, further more examples to help you understand. Yeah. So first thing you should be aware is that, so property decorator. So what is the use? Whenever you have an attribute, so which needs to be connected with another attributes and create like a new thing, you can create a method, right? So the simple example is the logical columns in a table, I told. And similarly, so I wrote like common questions and their answers. And this property decorator works in only new style classes. New style classes means I told, right? In Python 2, there are new style and old style. Whereas in Python 3, entirely everything is new style. So as you don't work, you need not understand, but they should be aware. As I told previously also, deleter. Whenever you want to delete it, this will be called. So how you are setting it. I'm resetting the values of whenever you're deleting the value. You see? And observe one more carefully. For everything, I'm not writing property dot. Only when I'm defining for that method, I will write property, which is a property dot getter. For others, with respect to this method name, I'm writing that method name dot setter, method name dot deleter, like that. But the names will be same for all. So this is the convention that we need to follow. So in Python 2, certain features doesn't work properly. So, but like in Python 3, everything works perfect. So if I go further in the property decorator further, so using property decorator, so we can do one last thing. So if you want certain attributes to be immutable values, if you want to make. So there are two things. For every class, there will be attributes. For the attributes, there will be values. If you don't want to add new attributes, there is one more thing called as slots. I will tell afterwards. But if a class has some values, attribute values, if you don't want to change them, where we can do that? In the getters and setters, right? So fine. So till now, you know the basic things using the property decorator, how we are doing. So without property decorator also, we can do that. So means like there is another thing called as underscore get, underscore set. These are two things. And you see, so some logic I'm doing within it, ignore that first, but it has methods and we have a constructor. Now, from this property, maybe like I'm taking a value, maybe like, value 1 is equal to, so my property, or like, say like my class. So your own custom object you created, for that you created a variable. Now, initially after creating, so you ask, I didn't write any print statements anywhere. I just want to get it. If you want like a print statements also, we can do. So maybe you can do like import logging. So logging dot basic config of logging dot. So debug, right? Debug is a very basic thing. And in each state, we can say it entered so and so. Logging dot. So debug of, so in this method like that. So similarly, so for here also we can write. So in this method, in setter method. Setter is like an ordinary method we are doing. And similarly, so here also underscore set in underscore set method. Maybe like why should we leave the constructor? Even for constructor also we can write. And we defaultly know that whenever you are doing it, the constructor will automatically call Python 05 so and so. Why it had an error? Takes 0 arguments. Basic config takes 0 arguments, but 1 was given. It's a problem. So basic config. So if I go with like basic config, oh, level. So I should specifically mention, which I didn't mention it. That's the reason. So because it will take the attributes like this. So if I give it, so it get it. It is saying that, hey, you need to pass some function. So some function and that function only it will work. So directly we cannot call. So maybe like as it is expecting some getter function, I can take like some hello world function, define hello, which will return like hello world. I wrote like this, some logic. So you pass that hello, it will take it and it will execute. So fine now. So fine. So when you are retrieving a value, so how it is going? So for the value, I am asking, so dot get function, which are the value is there, I want to retrieve it. So for that, I can ask is equal to so and so and close it. I am defining and asking it. So when I'm asking, it is coming, right? So now the assignment for you is like, now you modify further and check whether it is going into it. So in which case it is going to the setter. So there are two sets called as like, I will tell you. So underscore set, underscore get underscore and underscore get attribute underscore. Similarly, like for set also like that, set and set attribute. You see like in which case it is going. And also, you see whenever you are setting, I wrote an exception. If you want to do like a conditional set, let's say you have a variable, you don't want to get a odd numbers or like a even numbers. You can check that whenever the value is getting set, if the value is not met, you don't want to do it. So all those kinds of checks you can do and work on it. So you give a try. This is an assignment for you. We proceed on. Now, so like this, if I want to go further, there are something called as a partial methods. Partial functions, you know, right? So we have seen when you are working with functional programming, whenever some logic is repeating, so means when you are making a call, you can create a partial such that we can reuse it better. In the same fashion, using func tools, there is something called as partial method. Like property, if you mention, this alive can be treated like an ordinary variable, right? So like this, for partial method you are doing, I'm saying like set state is one of the method I'm connecting to it, and the value is true. Hope you remember partial methods, partial functions, right? We have discussed about the partial functions when you are in functional programming. So if you remember the partial functions which I worked, that time I told. So partials, partial, yeah, partial functions. Yeah, you see here. Hope you remember the partial functions which I discussed. Whenever you have a function, if you are making multiple calls, and the one of the attribute is common across all. So to make it easy, you see here. So as like 0 is common as like first argument, I created a partial function where for this function it will take 0 as the one argument. Means like for the basic functions, I am creating like a pseudo function. So on top of it. So for that function, instead of passing in for ordinary function 2 arguments, for this you pass only one argument because the other will be that the initially defined. Like that for methods also, if you want to modify, that's where so this partial method comes. In this partial methods, I am setting that set live. So partial method of set state is equal to true. Means for every person, if you want to write, so alive is equal to true or false, you will write. So if you want to set a person as a live or so dead, we can use like ordinary way. You can come and say that set live is equal to live or not. So we use this method. But we have configured two partial methods that if you are asking this partial method, it will automatically set with this value. Means if you want this method to be called with one value, so you predefinedly give that and you create like extra one. Now set alive, if you do, it will automatically set the value alive. Now if you see here, so CLS and Python 06, you see now, initially you're asking, by default, the value is set as false. You're asking like set alive. The moment you did a set alive, did you see, I didn't do a set state. You see initially, or like first you see, what is the C state? So F of initial state, if you see. So the moment I created, I'm asking. Did I miss something? Okay, yes, immediately. Did you see what happened? Initially, it is false. So generally, what we do, so c dot set state of, you need to pass like true, right? So after you passing like a true, then if you ask, hey, give me the value, it will tell, yes, now the state is true. Similarly, you need to explicitly pass. Instead of you doing like that, you do like, set alive. So c dot set alive. So c dot set alive, if I ask this value, you see what happens? It is saying it's a partial function. Means it's a method, a partial method. You need to call like an ordinary method. You make a call. So, sir, here in this case, only one argument, right? But just imagine in real-time conditions, if you want to create one proper particular thing for one project, we have a lot of inputs. Those all inputs, if you can pre-bake and be ready, so that is like this. So now if you ask, hey, what is the state? So here you pass it true. Here you need not pass anything. It will automatically ensure it is true. Or like, let me go for like set dead. Maybe it's good to write here. Instead of you writing a set dead, so you can do set state of false we need to do. Then, so instead of that, we can do c dot set dead. So if I do like this also, or like this also, it works in the same way. Okay. Hope you have now understood the importance of these things, right? This is all about the partial methods. And this is all about the descriptors. We learned a lot. Fine. Now going for the last points. These are magic methods. Magic methods inherently I didn't discuss till now because. So now you will learn something interesting. What is this concept of magic methods? There are a lot of magic methods, in fact. To give a simple example, these magic methods, why they are called magic methods, I will tell shortly. Their other name is called as Dunder methods. Dunder means double underscore methods. If you remember till now, we have worked on different kinds of variables like int, floats, integers, so and so. Don't you remember that when you're working, you have things like underscores on either side? There are many attributes, right? So you see, why I told that we don't deal with the things which are underscores on either side? Because they have alternative implementation. So if I go for underscore add, instead of doing like that, we are doing a plus operator. So this is called as operator overloading. Means two things are doing the same purpose, right? So means like either you do plus operator or underscore add, it will do the same job. If I do minus or underscore subtract, both will do the same job. So if I do like multiply or underscore multiple, so both will do the same job. So like that, for many operators, you have predefined things. Now, if you want to do like that, so we can use this Dunder methods. There are many Dunder methods. First, let's take the very simple example of this underscore add, because you can better relate it. So to give a simple example, if I take the examples here, if I have one number called as 10, 100, if I add to it 22, or like if I do underscore add, so don't you think both will do the same job? For the same name, a number, both are getting added, right? 0, 1. I think I'm in the wrong directory. Okay, CLS and Python 0, 1. So both will do the same job. Assert means like both are equal. If the assert is wrong, it will throw an error. If it is not throwing error, it is correct. Now, if you want to do like this, what is the point? If let's say I defined a person. So same like in the previous, I am defining a person class. The person has a name and a surname. So whenever I am using also, I do like that. So maybe like, so I am creating someone like a father. And I want to ask this person, observe carefully. Did you see that the first two things it is going fine? After that, maybe I'll write empty print just to avoid to execute it. When you ask the father is an instance, right? But for that instance, you get nothing. But if you want the values, what is saying it is person at so and so. But because The instances we cannot see the values. But this is where I will introduce you one new thing. There is something called as print underscore underscore str. Hope you remember this thing, underscore underscore str. So it means str function. So you are seeing like it is automatically getting this arrow mark. I will tell you shortly afterwards. str. If I do like a return of, say hello something. So if I execute, did you see what happened? It is saying some hello. What is this hello? Because when you ask till now, if this method is not defined, it will automatically get from this one. Don't you think that it is doing a magic? Means you didn't ask anything. The moment you registered this underscore underscore str, it is giving it. To make it something meaningful, instead of returning like an hello or something, I can return so some good way, saying like in an f string, I can say whatever is the self dot name, and I can do like a self dot surname, right? I have these two names. So now it makes more sense. Now did you see father name and so and so? Maybe like if you want an underscore or something, I can write. So that in the output. So whenever you have a class, for the class instance, if you want, you can do like this. So similarly, if I create like one more person, one more instance like this, say mother. So mother also mother name, mother surname I wrote. If I print it, so which are the names are there as it is showing that. Fine. Now for this, if I want to join them together, so can I do operations like joining them together? If I do like a plus operator, it should work. It generally we cannot add two instances. It's not like two numbers, right? For operators, if you want to do, that's where you need to go for. There is something called as underscore underscore add underscore underscore self comma. Basically, add will take other thing also. Means when you're adding to one, so it will tell what are you doing. So maybe like if I do a return of hello or something. So return of hello, whatever you return, it will print it. Did you see? Means this method is automatically called. So I am using like plus operator, it is automatically called. Means if I do like mother dot underscore underscore add of father or like mother plus so and so, both are working the same way. Hope you can understand and relate to it. If I execute it, both are working the same way. Now here I can do the operation. Now two objects I am getting. So what I will do, return. So maybe like I have the first person name and second person name. Generally when marriage happens, what will happen? So both will get the surname of the father, right? So you can think like that. So whoever they marry, they will get it. So now I can get the self dot name. And similarly, other person dot surname. Other is an object. It will have a surname. I can take these two and again pass to this person object again. So just I want to take like this. And I'm creating a new object. Did you see what happened? Whenever you're asking mother name and father surname, so mother name and father surname, both are getting right. So I'm just giving a simple example for you to understand. So whether you do like this or like that, it will happen. Or if you want to make it much better, so when you're printing, instead of doing like this, say maybe I will do like this. So it will join them together and give like a title case or something. So whichever works better, we can do. So now did you understand? So what is this dunder methods? There are two dunder methods we discussed here. One is underscore underscore add. So when now doing an underscore underscore add, like a ordinary method, if you use that, you can execute. At the same time, we can use a plus operator also to do it. If I do like an ordinary adder or some other name, I cannot do this. If it is defined like underscore underscore add only, I can overwrite. So similarly, you can see in the str, whenever you are printing, it is automatically called. Now, hope you remember like str, there is one more thing called as repr also. So repr also. So that also I will tell shortly. So just a moment. So that you can take it as an assignment maybe to understand further. So whenever both str and rep are there, which one is taking, that you can see. So let me give like one more example for these Dunda methods. Dunda methods are double underscore methods or magic methods, these are called. So this example is a very good example for you to understand how things are working. So generally, these are called as doc strings. In doc strings, we can write what is the purpose, how to use it. Next, there is something called as doc test. I will show you there. You will understand. So the point is you create one instance. So like this, you create an instance, you need to combine them together. That's what the ultimate goal. So now, first I define like two things. If you pass like two arguments, it will take. If you pass single value also, it will take denominator as 1. So like that, I create a class instance. Now, if I need to add two instances, first I need to check whether both are belong to the same or not. So let's say I'm creating two things. You see now, I have two class. So first 1, 2. Second one I'm passing only 2. So denominator will be 1 by default. So third one an ordinary variable. So now you have 3 variables. So 2 are like this ration number instances. 1 is like an ordinary integer. Now I can check whether these are all part of the same thing or not. Because when you do an add, you can do like a plus b. You cannot do a plus c, right? So to check that, as a precursor, we can use the isInstance built-in function, which will help us to understand whether both are of same created from the same instance. Because if something is created with ration numbers, something is created with some other way, you cannot add them, right? So this can really help us. Now, when I'm doing, I can do like a addition. So first, if I want to do the addition, like this or like that, first I need to do the addition operation. So for that, first I need to do the operation. If I do like an operation, and if I take the values and do some math, so I'm writing the logic directly. You can just see afterwards. But I'm taking the values and finally creating a new value, and I'm getting the result. This is good. But in fact, when I do, I cannot understand anything. So if I do like a str, so as I told you earlier, if I do an str, the instances when you are printing, you cannot see. But if you do an str, it can show. So it's easy for us to digest, right? You can see it. Okay, fine. At the same time, so if I do like repair also I can define. So for this, if I define repair also I can define, but you will not understand much difference. So at this stage, so if both are defined, it will take it. There should be like a 2 underscores followed by 2 underscores. Then only they will say like double underscore methods. When 2 methods are defined, which one it goes, that is an assignment for you. You check it. In the same fashion, I can like, I did an addition of these 4, right? Now I want to facilitate the same way addition with another one. Say like I want to do a plus c. Can we do a plus c? It will not do. Did you see where it is throwing an error? In the instance itself, in the definition. Because for other dot d means c don't have an attribute called d, right? So it will not allow. So whenever you are doing the operations within your code, it's a best practice first to check whether these are instances part of the same instance or not. To check that, you can do like this. If not instance of this, first we need to create like an instance and then use it. You can have your own condition. If it is not part of your instance, you create and use it. Or if it is part of the instance, or you don't want to facilitate, you throw in error also. It's up to you. So at the same time, so now if I want to facilitate this, so how do you facilitate? So now it would be possible. It is converting. If you want like a plus b, I can ask like a plus c also. I can see like a plus c. So I can ask like a plus c, which is same like this. Now did you see? It will execute. A plus c is also working. You got some result. So that is how the addition is working. In the same fashion, if you want to facilitate the other one, like a subtraction. So for subtraction also same thing. It will go with underscore underscore sub underscore underscore. 2 underscores value variable 2 underscores afterwards. So we can try that also for the subtraction. So you can try. Subtraction means you can ask directly or like this, minus. If I do like that also it works. For the third value also it works because how we have done. So in the same fashion, if you want the value, so I can pass like this. So you can use, if you want any value, so you can ask like underscore underscore str or str of that function, right? And repr function and underscore underscore repr. So if I have the same definition for both str and repr, one of them you define, and for others you can simply write like this: repr underscore underscore is equal to underscore and str. So both will execute now. If I don't define, then it don't know where to execute when you ask repr. So that's why it will give like this. So when you are printing, you are asking indirectly that str and reprs only. That's where you need to understand. str is for human beings. Whenever you are doing a print, it will automatically check for str. Whenever you are doing some computations, like string concatenation, like that, then repr will be executed. So that is a backend story, but you evaluate and check. So this is how it works. And in the same fashion, if I can create one more class, the same thing we can do. So another example, just to help you understand, I'm not executing, but simply to say, I created another class with some values. I have an underscore underscore attribute. Within that, I am adding it. So now you see how I'm adding the values. So like that, you can take the assignment. You can try. So with underscore. So now at this moment, I told 4 double underscore methods: add, end, so and so. And similarly, there is one more example for the Denda methods. It's very interesting. Hope you know like how we work on C, C++, especially in C++. In C++, we have the commands, right? If you want to print, so like this we do. If you want these operators to be used on the instances, see how logic I wrote. I wrote like underscore underscore left shift, underscore underscore R shift, right shift. So like this, I wrote for 2 classes. So whenever you are creating instances, when you use these operators, indirectly those methods will be executed. This is one simple example for you to understand. So how we can play with this underscore underscore attributes. At the same time, there is one more Denda method. It's very, very interesting. This is called as a call. Especially whenever you want to create like a class-based decorator classes. So we use this one. Means till now we know that, when you have a class definition, you see here, yeah, constructor, so str, when you print, it will print. But what is this underscore underscore call? I will tell you. So till now you have a class and your class will have an instance. So if I have, so you can notice it. The class is there, class instance is there. But did you see that? So when you have a print statement, it will call, right? So it will say, did you see that str is called automatically? Whenever you are printing, so this str is like automatically called. So we know that. But so can we till now make m as a callable? You cannot directly call the instance. Instance dot an attribute you can call, but instance directly you cannot make it as callable. So if you want the instance to be callable, that's where we need to go for this underscore underscore call. So let's say first example, I remove it. For the instance, I'm making a callable. I'm asking a call. Did you see that object is not callable? But the moment I define like this call, so you can make it callable. So this is the point. So simple example why we use it is like when you want like a class as a decorator object, we use it. So simple example is, let's say you see this example. You see this example, you'll understand. I wrote some class. So count calls. So in that there is a functool wrapper, something is happening, but it will do a call. Whenever this call is executed, it will increase the call count. That's it. So you have an ordinary function. This function, when you are calling, you are using this decorator. Till now, we know decorator means an ordinary function. But if you want like the variables and methods together, that's where we need a class. So in that case, we need to have a class and you write this. How it will be called automatically whenever you place like this. Now, if you see in this case, if I call, did you see? If I make each of the call, this underscore call is automatically called. So that is the beauty of this function. Hope you are understood why I'm telling this one. So this is all about the decorator, so underscore this one. And the last thing, so we have, if I can miss, now the next thing about this underscore REPR and underscore STR, especially for the REPR, in real time we use it a lot, especially when you have some values to display or like any computations. If you want to see from the instance, it will really be helpful. Assume I have one thing, one class, the problem. So I have some items, list of items. If you pass some items, it will do. And REPR means it will just print it, right? So I am taking one instance and I am doing it. Say like I am doing like this here, what will happen? I am passing a range of values. The range of values will come, it will convert to a list. So it will store in a list. So I pass like 50 values. If I do like 0, 5, did you see what happened? I didn't define the underscore str. You know that. So whenever str is not present, so it will take the REPR. That's the beauty of REPR. But REPR is not like that. So STR is for like human beings, as you know. REPR is for machines. So I can ask if I want the P value in two ways, right? I can ask directly and indirectly. If I want P1, so directly I can ask, or like with F strings, or like I can do some computations. Computations is ignored. But if I ask these two ways, see how it is working. In both cases, as REPR is there, it is using REPR. But if STR, I define something else. Say STR I'm defining. Okay. Now I have both STR and REPR. Now you see what will happen. Whenever you are doing a direct print, it will go for STR. Whenever doing a computations or like this, F strings, in that case, REPR is executed. But if you define like, so if you want the same functionality for both, so the best practice in real world, what we follow is we write like a, so like this. But for both, it will execute like this. But did you see one problem here? We have 50 values. That's what it is showing. In real time, in databases, we use a lot. In database, something called as ORMs will be there. Whenever you have like a large table of values, if you show all the table columns or table values, it would be very humongous. To understand the pattern, it should show some 4 or 5 values. That should be fine. But showing all the values, it's not a good idea, right? So how to address this problem? To address this problem, we should go for the next one. There is something called as REPR. For REPR, there is something called as REPR link. They created this one. Now in ORMs, they are using it. What is the point? In the first case, I am taking the values and I'm printing them as it is, right? In general REPR. But here what I do, I will pass to REPR.REPR of your items. You can have now 50 or 100 or any 1000 also. So now if I ask the values, it will try to print it. So I will ask directly or like this. So as I told you, if STR is there, it will try to take STR. But if STR is not there, both will get from REPR only. So I just defined REPR only. That's why in most of the functions, they define REPR only. Now if you see what will happen. In the traditional case, it is doing as it is. But in other case, see what will happen. When I printed with STR, so it did as it is. But in other case, it is doing like this. So if I ignore this one, so things will be better. You see here now how it's happening. It is trying to make it easy. So that's the reason. So if you want to just see the first few values, you can do it. And also we can configure the number of values you want to see. Maybe the first 10 values or like this you can configure. So this will address one real problem that we have. At the same time, to understand more about the differences between STR and REPR, you can also go for one function. So see this class, it has two things, str, repr. This str, repr we use in different scenarios also. Even in formatting also we use. There is like this old style formatting has this one. So this was in fact a interview question actually. Just have a look at it. You will learn a good amount of things. And the last point about this is, so this is like very, very important, called as context managers. What do you mean by context managers and how it will be helpful? Hope you remember, so when we are working with file operations, I told about context manager. Means like, so how we have worked on a file. When you have some file, to get the values, you open a file, okay, and you write some data and you close it. Instead of you doing like that, I told we can do in a better strategy where you write with a with operator. Then after with, what are the things that you have? So you write it here, and the result means the f variable you are creating. You can do like a as and do. So this is what you do. So whatever you are writing within it, it will do inside. And this closing and all flushing and everything will be done automatically. And in fact, it's a best practice. So both will execute in the same fashion I told. Okay. So like that, if you want to create your own context manager, I can do. Maybe we are working with files, right? I want to create my own custom file manager. So say I rate a class which will work on it. Say like so initially when you want to open, so I want to do something like this. So my intention is to something do like this. Means like, so I want to create a class called as manage file, which will also open the file and context manager and do it. Ordinary also it should do, like context manager also it should do. So if you want to create like that, first we need to define this class and do it. So first, if I define a class, till now for every class what you are doing, we have a constructor and we have some repr just to print it. But for this class, if you want this context manager to be facilitated, so we should know when it is coming into this context, means when it is coming into the indentation level, when it is going out of the context. That is what happens, right? Here also, when it is coming inside the context, it will start doing the operations. And once it comes outside, it will close the file handlers and everything. To be aware of when it is coming inside and when it is going outside, there are two methods they told, which are like predefined: underscore underscore enter, underscore underscore exit. So the format is also like this only. For enter, it will not take any input. You can do only operation. So inside I am taking a file handler and doing it. So exit, this format only you should follow. Exit every time, apart from self, it will take 3 arguments. Means if there is an exception, you can handle it. That's the reason for it. If you remember in so exceptions handling and debugging, I told this one. Sys.execute, so exception, so output if you are getting, so you are getting like this. So in this case, I'm not handling the exception handling. I thought like there won't be any exception. I did directly. But if you want to handle, you can do it. So if I do like now, so same like the built-in, it also will work. If I say Python 06, you see. So these also will create the file, and this also will create the same file and do. So, and within this, I'm asking, hey, what is the file handler? Did you see that it's an io.text io wrapper and all these things? Same like an ordinary thing, I facilitated it. So that's the beauty of it. Similarly, if you want to create your own custom manager, context manager. So another example you see here, you'll understand. So every time that it should have enter and exit. These are the two things. If you do like the other methods, it's up to you whether you want to write or not. So when it is coming inside, it is doing it. So when it is entered, I'm raising a voice error. So obviously it will raise a voice error and it will come. It will execute. See, though I handled like type error, value error, I didn't handle the voice error, right? So that's why as I raised a voice error, now it is clearly understood for you. So hope you understood. So first I am entering in it. So this is actually the interview question. So within the try context, you have try, for example, and within the try, you are doing a value error. But first, before entering, the moment you entered, it will go into this enter. And after everything is done, only the remaining code execution will happen. But before even running this thing, did you see even this print statement was not printed? So the moment you enter into it, this enter will be executed. Hope you are aware now how things are working. So here, fine. So this is all about context managers, custom context managers. In the same fashion, you have worked on like very basic data types like iterators. Hope you remember. So we have created something called as an iterator. Iterator means you have a list. From list you created an iterator. Means like if you have a list is equal to some values like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How do you create an iterator? You remember I create like my list underscore iter I created using an iter built-in function. If you pass your list to it, it became an iterator. So ordinary list, you can directly ask the values and you can do all operations. But from an iterator, if you ask like my list iterator, you cannot get any values. Hope you remember. So if you want values, what is the only way you have? You see, if you want values, the only way is like using next. If I do like a next of my list iterator, you get one value at a time. Hope you remember. If I do like how many next, or like you can convert to another data type. So like this you have worked, right? So to get all the values, or like you do a for loop. So it's iterator if you want to convert. If you want to create your own custom iterator, so then we need to create say one custom iterator. So like ordinary functions, the only difference is like here we need to define two methods like iter and like next. Means first when we are creating an iterator, we should have a state. So I created like this. So what if this question is like, you create powers of 2. Whenever users are asking powers of 2, you give like maximum. Till that maximum is there, every time you need to give the values. That's logic actually. So when I'm creating, so how I'm using, you see in this logic, say, let me comment the first line so as you understood it. So fine. So if you want to create a custom iterator, these two will be used. And you see what happened? I did powers of 2 with 4. It told like it's an iterator. If you ask, it's of type ordinary class. So, but if you pass to the iterator function, the moment you are passing to the iterator function, so it will create an iterator and pass to this iter function in the back. For an ordinary object, it will not go. But as you pass at this value directly to this iter function, this will do and it will start the state. Yes. Next onwards, for the next 4 times, if you are asking values, it will go to this iter function underscore next. The moment you are asking next, indirectly in the backend, it will go to the underscore next only. So either we can use the next built-in function or underscore next. That's what I told. So, but whenever you are using, as it is defined, it will execute it. And we are having a logic that give all the values, finally do a stop iteration. So it will try to give all the values. And beyond that, if I ask, it will throw an error saying the stop iteration exception. So if you see here, so beyond that, it will do a stop iteration exception. So the moment n value increases, it cannot do further, right? So you see here, when I did a for loop also, it is working. Means I didn't write a state that once the values were down, you should not do it again. But like that, I can write my own iterator to customize as per my need. So hope it's clear till now about writing your own custom iterators. So lastly, so if you want to create your class instance in such a way that it should be immutable. So for any person, if they are saying that class should be immutable, means you should understand whether the class should not take any new attributes or the value should not be changed. This is a simple thing you should be asking. Whenever you are defining any class, say I'm defining an ordinary class, say something like this. It has 2 attributes called as foo and a bar. So when you create an instance and ask, hey, what are the attributes? Obviously, what are all the instance attributes? Foo and a bar. So obviously the same thing will execute, right? You have seen. Now, if you want to add like extra attributes, so if you want to add an attribute, there are two ways. So either you can add an attribute or modify the value, right? If you see here, set o.xxx, I'm adding one attribute. Similarly, using setatter also for o, yy I'm adding and I'm doing it. After setting the values, I'm asking, hey, what is the vars? If you see here, these two attributes extra came. Though you have defined only two within the class definition, but you are able to add afterwards. Whereas if you don't want to let that kind of things to happen, so that's where we need to go for this slots. Means, you see in this example, I defined the same definition like foo and a bar, but I added one more and underscore method. See, at the class level I added like a tuple of two values. So I have two ones. Now, if I created like a instance and ask, so unfortunately, when you do like a vars of C, it won't give the values. For the slotted class instance, there is no underscore dict. See what it is saying? Only if you have an underscore dict, we can use vars. In other case, we cannot use vars. But the other operations can work. Means like, so you know that it has a foo and a bar, that's fine. If you ask the existing foo value and you update the value of it and do this, these are working. Updating value is different, but you cannot add a new attribute. You see now, if I add a new attribute now here, for this same thing, I'm adding c.xxx and set attribute. These two were added, right? Like that I'm trying to add. Now, did you see it thrown an error called as attribute error? Means if you define something like a slots, only those two attributes can be there. In addition, you cannot add outside. At the same time, if I define something like a slots of two attributes, so in the top, but within the class definition itself, I am adding a third attribute called as something. It is not outside, inside I'm adding. So even if I add inside also, it will throw an error. Means any attribute, if you want to do, that should be first defined in the slots. If you define something like a slots, you cannot define within the class or outside also like an extra attribute. So basically slots will not allow you to create anything in you. So don't you think it is called as kind of immutable? Immutable, I mean to say. So that's what you see. Now, sir, what is the advantage of going for the slots? Primarily, so you can confine and you can restrict what are things are happening. Especially when you're working with tables, database tables, you don't want to allow a new column to be added dynamically because it can cause a lot of chaos. So at the same time, if you see at the memory and others, you see, even in terms of memory also, whenever you're seeing like a slotted class will have less memory compared to the ordinary class. The reason being like you don't need to store other things, right? So things will be much more fast. At the same time, if you want to know the size of, there is one more attribute. If you see, there is something called as pi-mallet. If I use it actually, so I can get the information about the size much better. At the C level and others you can do. Generally in sys.get sizes of is there. Similarly for this also a size of is there. So like this also I can get the size of anything. So, but like it is primarily used whenever you are doing like memory investigation, memory leakages or like how much memory it is taking. That kind of evaluations you can see. So it is giving at the bytes level. So contrary to the sys.get size of, it gives the objects recursively and give the exact size. So they say like get size of will not give the perfect way, but it will do much better way. But whatever way you understood, right? You cannot add a new attribute extra either in definition nor outside. So, but values you can change, that you understood. Similarly here, if I define like slots of 3 attributes, so these are like things and this is like W, will it allow? So whatever you define, these are instance attributes. So here it is W. Observe, here I defined like 2 slots. So, and I have not defined anything. I created 2 instances. First of all, will it allow is the question. So if I execute it again, it works. Now you know that it will not have an extra attributes, right? So if I do like, so as these are slotted classes, VARs doesn't work. If I go for DAR, that's the only solution we have. So if I do a DAR of A and a DAR of B, you should notice it. So you don't want things which have underscores on either side, but you can generally see. In the first thing, did you see the attributes came like X, Y, Z? So X, Y, Z, though you didn't define, the attributes came. Similarly, here also W, X, Y, Z came. So see here also W, X, Y, Z came. Though you define slots like W and Z, as parent has it, the parent's slots also will come. Hope it's clear how these are things are working. Yes, please. Fine. Lastly, so Danda methods, we can do a lot more things. So though I have given one assignment for you, so like one more example I have. So especially this is one of the real-time example. So first see here, you see, you'll understand. There is one more thing called as get attribute. Whenever you are getting an attribute, if you want to overcome on it, there is something. So similarly, first we created instance. If it has a vars, you can use dictar vars. So when you are retrieving a value, if you want to do some things. So when you are retrieving, not means getting, if you want to change it. So if you want something to happen, you can do it. So like this, you can update. So like this, trust me, there are different kinds of attributes are there. So we can use all these Danda methods. So like get set also I did. You see, whenever you're doing a getting a value, this will be automatically called. No point of going for so property decorator. If you just define underscore get, for anything, if you are doing a get, anything if you want to do, you can go like this. Especially if you want to do only for one attribute, that's where property comes. But if you in general want to do for all, you can go like this. And lastly, so there is one more thing called as functools.total ordering. Basically, in Python 2, we can do like less than, equal to, between two numbers and others. So you see, you have two class. So there is some class. If you want to facilitate all these symbols, less than, greater than, so and so, for all these things we have. So like this, I did less than or less than so and so. Now you can modify to have less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, and you can explicitly write. So to make use of that, I did it. And what is this total ordering does is that the total values, it will make it in an order based upon, it will comparison, it will do. So this is a built-in function basically. It will provide you to automatic type comparison functions. Means you basically implement less than, equal to, that's it. But remaining operations, it will facilitate instead of you doing. At the very basic, it expects these two, less than or equal to, but remaining it will automatically do. Did you see that here I defined only less than or equal to and equal? But when I'm asking all the attributes. If I don't have this total ordering, it will not give all. If I execute, everything is coming. But if I comment this total ordering decorator, you see, it will throw an error saying that, hey, less than you defined, but less than or equal to you didn't define, right? So it's fine. So if I define that, it will automatically define these things in the backend for us. All these methods. Hope you understood now. So total ordering method. So like this. But last most important thing that you need to be aware is new decorator. So new is like very important. So any individual, till now what you know, whenever any person is born. So whenever a person is born, two things will happen. First, a person will be born, and then you will name, right? So means two things happens. First birth, then the very basic things when birth need to be happening. Till now we know that constructor is the only thing which will happen and execute when an instance is born, right? But what is the point of going for this one init? So new actually. So this is a new method. Till now we don't know. So init is a self method, means like it is an instance method, whereas new is like a class method. So what will happen? What is the difference? Till now we don't have this new method, but the moment new method is there, you see what will happen? When you're doing an instantiation, when instance is created, this new method is called when both are present. Of course, it's a best practice not to have both in one class. It's not a good idea. But assume that I don't have this one. Then what happens? Till now we know constructor will execute. But if you have this one, so that one will be executed. So the simple example for it is, so whenever we have like a singleton design pattern to be implemented, we can use it. So the new method, we should not call automatically, right? It should have like some kind of limitations are there. Means the new method, init method should not have any other return except none. Like there's some rules are there. But for new, not like that. So if you want to control the birth of any new instance, so in that case, we use a singleton design pattern. So trust me, in every interview question, so you will get this singleton design pattern. What is the singleton design pattern means? Say one instance is born. You don't want to allow a new instance to be born, but you want to reuse it. Just imagine a DB connection, which is very costly, right? If a DB connection is already there, you want to reuse an existing connection rather than creating a new one. So in that case, you can facilitate. So how I can do is like very simple. There are like multiple ways. Either you want to reuse the existing one, or if a second person is asking, you want to throw in error. It's up to us. You see, in this case, I am using like a class level variable, some flag. So for the first time it is coming, I am doing like this. The constructor is called, I am doing like a raise. If it is already there, it will raise an exception. If it is not there, it will take it. Very simple instance. So first time I am defining, I am getting it. So if I say CLS and so Python, so 12 so and so, I get it. You see? So when I'm asking where's for the class, there is no point to ask, but just to create it. It will work. Perfect. And the second time when I'm asking, for the second time when I'm asking, so did you see what happened? It raised an exception, right? So it will not allow you to create it again. So it will throw an error. So if I do like a accept exception as EX, so I can write this one. You see now what will happen? It will execute and it will print it. But I didn't write anything else, right? Just I wrote a raise exception. It is printing as it is. So if I write some statement, it will be gone. So this is how you can control it. But if I want like a better logic, sir, I don't want to stop it. If someone want to use it, they want to better use it. The real-time examples are DB connections or like logger. If a logger is already there, you want to reuse it. So as I told you, new born new. So when it is named, it is init, like a analogy I'm giving. If you want to control the birth, so here I'm doing, see here, a new, the moment new is in front. So if not has the attribute of some logger, for the first time I'm assigning, subsequently I'm returning. Means you see here in this case, first time the logger is created, second time also logger is created, it will not throw any error, but it will reuse it. So maybe like you can assign some value also and check whether it is using the same, like that you can check. And did you see the is operator, which is telling same? And in terms of address locations, did you see both are same? Means only one time the instance is created, subsequently it is getting reused. So that's what we understood. So fine. So if I do it again, you can notice it. So that's how it works about the singleton design pattern. A singleton design pattern means either you can control the birth of a new person or like you can reuse the existing one. So as you wish. So whenever you want to create a classes like that. So I have given like different examples to help you understand. So this is another example for you to understand. You see here, the same previous first example I am taking. So I want to take like a singleton. Means I use this as a singleton separately. Any class, if you want to make it like a singleton, just pass like this. Instead of you defining this concept in every function, you can use. So if that class is called twice, then it will not allow. So like that, you can decide anything. At the same time, so if you want to reuse also, that will work. So singleton means like whether you facilitate like this or in the other way, it's up to us. So this is another way of implementing the singleton, where see here, if you can notice here, see. So you are creating an instances. Whenever they already the instance is there, so it will give the existing instance. If not, it will create the instance. So without a new and a init also, I did the logic. So this is how I implemented in other language. So that logic I brought here, just to you should be aware. So data classes. Data classes is a concept which is there using like, yeah, in 3.7 itself they introduced with pip so and so. I told any concept whenever they are introducing or modifying, they use this one. Earlier, it used to come like a separate module. So in 3.6 and 7, so we used to install in 3.6. From 3.7, it became like part of the basic itself. Now you need not install base data classes, it will automatically come. But this is a module which will directly import. Basically, every problem is sort like, however the users are facing, they want to make the things easy. To make the problems easy, they solve some boilerplates. If you see, compare the Python with this Java language, what you will understand? Java has a lot of boilerplate. So for every small things also, we need to define everything. So even in Python also, over a period of time, they understood that every class is having some kind of repetitive work. So that repetitive work, they want to reduce it. If you take like a simple example of an ordinary class without data classes, just imagine everything we have a constructor. You pass one or two or any number of arguments. The same arguments I define. Did you see the name which is you passed and the name I'm using like in the self, both are same. So it's a kind of repetitive every class. In the you have an REPR, you have a less than equal to, or else you will use the total ordering to implement all of that. So like that you have some implementation. So I define some things. So and I can use it. Say like this regular class. If I define a class instance, I can use it. It will perfectly work fine. Now this logic, if I want to optimize, how I can do is like, so just in like 2 lines I want to do this entire logic. So how do I do, sir? So see here, I am doing like this. Observe carefully. I have a regular class with these 2 arguments. The same 2 arguments I define. I created a new class called as using data classes. On top, just I wrote like this data classes decorator. I imported data classes. This is a plural. Data class is a singular. That I imported and I passed as a decorator. The moment I passed, I can just define what is the data type. That's it. I need not define all these things again. So now everything will work perfectly. You can do all the operations, whatever you're doing there. Means less than or equal to, defining the classes, everything. The moment I defined, so I need not worry. So automatically this, this, if you do an ordinary class, if you don't define str or repr, it will say like, so main object stored at some location like that. But did you see that you got some beautiful way? Because repr is implemented in the backend. So I can do like equal, less than or equal. I need not define those methods. No total ordering, nothing. So everything will be automatically defined. So now, so what is the advantage of it is like, so when you have these predefined implementations, you can do. But sir, if I need to have some other methods defined, not like this basic REPR, STR, these dunder methods. In that case, you implement with that only. If you see in this example, I defined arithmetic operations, 2 variables, means like constructor. It will take 2 arguments. These are like self arguments. So means like then you have a method. It is your custom method. You define it. So custom methods we can define. It will work as it is, but others you need not define. In the same fashion, if I ordinarily define something, so say in this case, so what is the difference between these two? In this case also I defined something, data classes. In this case also I define data classes. But the difference is In this one, I first defined like this. Then it created two self arguments. That's why with self itself I'm using. Whereas in this case, you need to explicitly pass two arguments. Means no constructor. Of course, in ordinary classes also, we don't have constructor to be mandatory, right? So that's what. If you want a constructor to happen, that those things we can do. But as an individual, I feel like I am more comfortable with the other ways. So though it was introduced in 3.7, 6 onwards, but still people are not that comfortable coming to it. So if you see here, so these data classes, we can do a lot number of good things. In fact, ordinary classes, we need not pass object. So object, if you don't pass also fine, without if you don't pass also fine. Anyhow, it is a new style. So you can use like this also. They kind of backported these data classes for Python 2 also, in fact. And also, is it a mutable or immutable object? Because like anytime we can modify, right? So X is the only thing you have. But did you see you added one more attribute? So whenever it has that kind of mutability, previously I forgot to tell, there is something called as a hash built-in function. If you want to check whether something is immutable and hashable, we use it. So means like immutable is different from hashable. Not every immutable is hashable. If you have like a tuple containing a list value within it, tuple is immutable, but it is not hashable because it has a mutable within it. So that's what you need to understand. So in the same fashion, if you want to make it immutable, means you don't want it to allow to change it. Hope you remember earlier we used the slots built-in function attribute. So like that, we need to define here. In the data classes, frozen equal to true. The moment we define like frozen equal to true, it will not allow you to add like new attributes. Of course, the existing values you can change. So sorry, existing value also it is not allowing you to change. So a new attribute also it's not allowing you to add. So both the ways it has restricted it. So this is the data classes. At the same time, if I go one real-time example, say like if I say some book class, if you see in this example, so what you can notice, in these data classes, we can have examples like as dict, as double, as data class like that. Say in this, there is a constructor with 3 arguments. So first 2 arguments, I'm not giving any value. As I define the data type, the default value it will take. For strings, default is empty string. For integers, default is 0. For float integers, default is 0, like that. For Boolean, default is false. But here you want default and some value that you can mention it. So now, whenever I'm passing any values, I can make use of it. So there is a guy called as Mark Lutz. He has a very interesting book in Python. I am a really fan of him. So he has very good book. Just walk through it. So, but like if you have a class instance, that instance values, if you do with a vars, till now vars is for like getting the instance attributes like a dictionary. But you can use like as dict and as tuple. If you use as dict and as tuple, you get like that. So same like vars, as dict also will work. But if you want the values like a tuple, you can use like a as tuple. So this is another way of doing it. So apart from this, so we can do like further more actions. Maybe like one more example to say, um, if I work on say data classes with, okay, yeah. You see now in this example, so we can see I have created a random prices. You see, earlier I got a default value, right? But this default value is like 20 every time. But the default value should come with some function, assume. So the value should come. So I can do like this. I can pass like a field of default factory of this function. If it needs any argument, you can pass like args equal to. So you see now, every time this is called, the price will be coming from this randomly. So every time you define another value also you define, the price will come randomly. So if I ask it CLX and Python 04, so did you see? All the other values are same, but the price is different, which is coming like this. So this is what I want to say. So like this, we can get it. So in the same fashion, in this, if you want to get like more other options for these data classes, we can have it. So a way like, if I say, yeah. So this example, if you see, you will understand a lot of things. So I'm saying like init equal to true. So should there be constructor? So REPR should be there. Equal to should be there. Ordering means total ordering should be there. It should be like a hashable or not. Frozen, it should be there or not. So when you do, by default, these are options there. So if you want to modify that, you can modify that options. If you do that, so the corresponding functionalities will not come. But these will help to get them automatically. So in the same fashion, so we can create like a make data class. So the data class we define like this, right? So indirectly also we can define. Next, I will tell something called as meta classes. In meta classes also we can do. This is one kind of meta class only. You are seeing like make data class containing position and these values. Means position is a class name and it has these things. So, and you see now you didn't define the class called as position, but you define indirectly like this. So a class definition doesn't mean that it should be created like this. It can be created like this also. So dynamically creating the classes. This is called as meta programming or meta classes. So, and similarly, if you have, if you want like data type to be any, means it can be like int or float or anything. So there is one more thing called as any. You can define that. So if you want any, there is another module called as typing. Next, when you're going for code quality, I will tell that this typing and so and so. If you want like a list or a tuple, all those things we can define. Some explicit value you can define, or like some functionality you can relate to. And in this case here, in this class, it want a list of this first class instances. Did you see? List of play cards means play card is another class. That class instance you want. First from play cards, I create two instances. So that class instances I am passing as an input. So like that also I can misspell. Or in the last case, you have this class which is having three variables. That passed as an also an argument. See here, you are doing inheritance. So obviously this will have four values. Now when you are defining it, if you pass one value, it will throw an error. It needs all the four, right? So like that we can do inheritance also. So whatever you are doing with basic things, all those things we can do with the data classes also. So if I do like a keyword value, so keyword values only means when you are passing a data class, if you want, so in the definition, when you're making a call, so how do you create a birthday? You directly create the birthday, right? So you can pass like birthday of name, say like Uday. So date of birth is like some date of birth I need to pass. So you pass directly. But if you do like keyword equal to true, keyword only, then you should say like name is equal to so and so, or date of birth is equal to so and so, like that I need to pass. So it is an assignment for you. Just see the implementation. So at the same time, see here, if it want a default value, means if you write on top all attributes when they are passed, it should be like keywords only. But only one argument if you want like a default, that also you can mention. Or also for all these things here. So for this one, it is a keyword argument only. Only one thing you want. At top and above also fine. Like that also you can specify keyword only. So like that different ways of keyword arguments only you can specify. But so at the same time, one last point to say in data classes is we have like we can specify different things. You see now in the data classes, init equal to false by default means like true by default means constructor will be there. If you want to specifically know, you can say that. But like you have seen this one about the constructors. So and like one more thing is there is something called as post init. So by default, till now we know what in a constructor we assign variables. But after assigning variables, you will do some extra work, right? In a constructor. Sometimes if you want to do that extra work, there is something called as post init. So like that you can do it. Similarly, there is a pre-init also. So I don't want to mess too much. I'm just telling it. So like that, they added a lot of actions for us. And the last point, which is called as a name tuple. Name tuple, hope you remember when we worked with collections, I told, or like when you worked with tuples also, I told. A tuple can, if you want the values to be indexed by the positions and the names, that's where name tuple comes. So I can make use of name tuple and I can pass as an argument. Now it will inherit the name tuple and all the features will be like a name tuple. So means like it will create like an ordinary instance. But when you are retrieving the values, you can use like a fields, means you can get the values by the fields or like so individually, like a tuple or both ways you can get it. So that's the point of name tuple. Now the last point I want to tell in the advanced concept is abstract classes. So every advanced interview on a Python will close with this advanced concept called as ABC classes. If you see, the concept is very simple to understand. Say, if you want to create some kind of web scraping project, web scraping project. In a web scraping project, you want to, let's say you are in a trading organization. So trades. So trading means like you have a Tesla stock, or like you have a Microsoft stock, or like some other stock. For every stock, you need to do this one. Means for every stock, you need to go to their website. So go to website is one function. So then like get the web pages, get web page. So get PDFs in it. So then like what? So extract the content. So then like, so dump to database, dump to DB. So this is what you have like simple example. If you have this kind of thing, for every function you need to implement. Some people, if they don't implement one or two, so it would be an issue, right? So if you want the same structure for all the classes which they are implementing, that's where we need to have some concept called as interfaces. So primarily in Python, there is no concept of interfaces. So we need to use abstract classes for that. So what is this abstract classes? How it can help us? So let me help you explain. So if you have an ordinary class, so ordinary class when you have, so ignore these first things, but like just take an ordinary class. In an ordinary class, you define and you make a call, you get the values. This is what you know till now. So CLS, so Python 01. Ordinary class you define and you make a call, you do use it. Whereas another class if you define, see here, another ordinary class we have. So in this case, what will happen? It has a constructor also that will be automatically called and you get the values. So in ordinary classes, this is not mandatory, but everything you can write your own way. Now, if I can modify it a bit better, say I'm writing like this. Apart from constructor, I have some method also. If there is a method, I can make a call to it. So this is what we know till now. But so if you have defined something like an abstract class, if you want to define something as an abstract class, first you need to pass the ABC. Means in the starting I wrote, ABC is a built-in module. There is something called as ABC class and abstract method. These two things you need to be aware. So even in abstract class also you define and you are making a call. You see now, I am defining an abstract class and I'm making a call. And now for this abstract class, I am defining some constructor and I am making a call. Same like earlier how I did. Here also I am defining the abstract class, ABC class. I have a constructor. I am calling the super and I am executing it. It works. So in the third case, I am defining like, so the abstract class with some method. You see in this case, abstract class with a constructor and one method, and I'm making a call, same like the above, ordinary class. Now in the fourth case, I will define something like a abstract method. You see now what will happen this time. Same like the above, I wrote the same method, but in addition, I wrote something like abstract method. The moment I define like an abstract method for any of the methods within the class, things will change. If you take inheritance of ABC class also, you can work properly only like an ordinary class. But the moment abstract method is used, we cannot get the instance. We cannot create an instance out of this class. Then why, sir, we are writing a abstract class? See, these abstract classes are basically designed to help us to give some kind of proper structure for the code. If the code need to follow some structure, that's where this is used. Basically, they are not designed for like usage, like an ordinary classes. Say, cars is there. So every car should have like a chassis number, get the car model. Like this, you have it. So for this problem, if you are defining like this, so means like if I are defining like this, then what will happen? If I do like an abstract class and define like this, in an ordinary class, when I defined, so it's an ordinary class, so it should work, right? But it will not work. Reason being, as you have inherited the base this class, which has an ABC, and within that there is a method which is abstract. Means in this problem, what is the thing is that I told that you need to have two methods. One of the method is mandatory called as get chassis number, but you didn't define in your class. That's why I will not allow you to create the class. Then what is the solution? You define this one method which is mandatory. So the remaining, if you don't define, also fine. So if you see in this case now, so I inherited same like the above this time, but I added like get method. So whichever is defined here like abstract method, that is mandatory. Others, if you don't define also, it will go. You see here. So if you don't have this kind of ABC classes, you need to define that method there and you need to raise like a raise exception to avoid it. So, but if you do like this, it will work. Now, did you all understand ABC classes? Can you all once help me understand that you understood it clearly? Abstract classes are not for like usage. They are designed for like creating a proper structure whenever you are writing any code. So means like if you want certain methods or like certain variables, certain methods to be defined for all the classes. So to make like a proper structure, we need to define like an abstract class so that it will be helpful. So the same example I wrote here. You see here, I have some variables and so and so. I did like a not implemented. Did you see? Means like if they use indirectly, if they don't define them within their classes, it will throw an error. To throw an error like this I wrote. So mandatory I wrote. This is optional I didn't write. So whichever you want mandatory methods, you write abstract methods. So if they are defining them, it works. You see here. So basic car class I wrote. So it is like a property also, abstract also. Property means what? This is a method, but you can call like a variable, right? So like that, you can have multiple decorators also. It's not like a problem. So you can have anything. So another simple example for you to understand. So for this abstract classes is, so if you go for the example of these animals, for every animal, if you want like proper structure to maintain, for animal I'm making as an ABC and I'm saying move. So move is something which should be implemented in every class. Then you see, I will write like this. Humans are like a human is also an animal. They can move. So I need to define it. If I don't define it, throws an error. So snake, I define it. So dog, I define. Lion, I define. So don't you think that the structure is like proper? If you want, all the classes should be following the same structure. We can go like this. So this is all about this one. So like this. So with this, the basic things were done. So and like last point about this advanced concept is meta classes. So to be frank, I didn't use till now the meta classes anywhere in my code. But when you go for like advanced concepts, say like in Django or some other places, so when you write like a meta, so it means on demand if you want to create the classes. So this logic will be used. So meta classes means very simple. You don't explicitly define any class or a method or anything, but you dynamically define. Means any class till now you define directly, right? So and you can make use of it. Similarly, instead of you defining like this, you can just define using a type built-in function. What is the class name? What are the basic objects? Any inheritance if you want to make. If nothing, the object. And what are the attributes it should have? What are the attribute values it should have? So all of them you can define like this also. So whenever you want to define dynamically any classes, so we can go for meta classes. That's the only thing about it. So with this, we have done with the basic things. You see here. So these are called as enums basically. If you have a class, means like simple. If you have some attributes and if you want to bind the attributes and some values, so those things you can do in a proper way. You like using class. You see, if there are 4 seasons like spring, summer, autumn, winter. So you and all the values should be like 1, 2, 3, 4. You can define a class in the class variables and you can use directly. So if you use, you can directly use. Instead of you defining like this, you can pass like enum. Enum is like a built-in module. If you pass it, you can pass like an arguments and you can use. The beauty is like, till now you define your own class, you can access directly only. But if you define like a enum, you can access directly also. At the same time, like this also you can ask. Like a dictionary attributes, think like that. Like that also you can ask. Like a tuple also we can ask. What is the second value, third value? And that name you can ask. Or like dot value you can ask. Like that you can use it. So whenever you want to make like a constants, like a configurable variables, you can do like a enum. And similarly, so when you define something like a enum, so you can do. So see here, season.atom has a value of 3. But if you ask, is it the value equal to 3 means it says no. Because it's not a order integer, it will be of type enum. So like that you can think. And similarly, you can do some operations less than, so sorting, all the operations you can do. Similarly, see here, I defined like an enum. And similarly, in the same fashion, this is also like meta programming. If you want to define this meta class, this class, so like this, you can do like a meta programming. It also will do the same job like it. It will also create. So same operations you can do. And also we can do iterations. We can do like a hashing. So whether hashables, these are all hashables. Though we can use like a dictionary, these are hashables. So, and also it supports these operations like less than or equal to, all these operations you can do on top of them. So like integers, but it will be like with variables because you have some constants in a sequence, but you want it. But at the same time, this sequence you don't want like in a sequential, it should come automatically. So in that case, you could do like a auto. So automatically, based upon the sequence, the first value will have like a 1. The second value will be 2, 3 like that. So if I have more values, so everyone will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like the sequence. But sir, the sequence should not start from 1, but from -1. I can write like this. You see, like 1 minus 1 minus 2. So 1 and minus 2, two things. It's not like 1 minus 2, 1 comma minus 2. So 1 minus 2 is different, 1 comma minus 2 is different. So if I do like a 1 comma minus 2, that's different. You can give it a try. And similarly, you can have like extra attributes. Means like if you want to do some custom things. So this auto should be generated in a different way. So return plus 2 means like generate next value is like an attribute which has built in, which we are overwriting by writing manually. So generally the sequence should come like in a continuous +1 +1. But if you want, so like this, you can do +2. So you see here, initial value is like +2 instead of 1, and subsequent values are like continuous. Because like enum has like lot of attributes, others. If you want to modify them, you can do it. So you see here, when you are printing the values, getting the values, instead of directly giving, say like you want to print it. So you can do all those operations. So this next values, you can modify it. And similarly, these enums are like very good. Maybe most of the language supports these enums. And we can do operations on these enums also. We can add two values like an ordinary integers or an ordinary floats, but within them only. But these enums, if you want to be more specific, instead of a generic enum, we can say like int enum or string enum like that. If I say int enum or like integers which have values. Similarly, if I have a string enum, strings will not have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Now did you see for the string enums, when you ask values, it is not giving the integers. It is giving the string as it is. What are you define? What are you define outside like a variable as it is coming, string enums. So the string enum, you can also define like this also. But like the difference is like if you define string enum, it will don't have a value. But if you pass like string and enum together, it's like a multiple inheritance. So then it will have both. That's the difference. So earlier when string enum is not defined, we used to use like this. Then if you want like the sequence number, and it should be like a unique values. When you're defining, if there are no unique values, see here, for 3 also we have 3, 4 also we have 3, then it will throw an error. Like if you want some conditions, so value should be contiguous. So did you see here values are not continuous? 1, 2 is there, after that 5 is there. So it will not allow. So or else if you want the name to be flagged, named flags. So you see here, so named value is defined twice, right? So did you see that like, so blue is there, so red is there, so value is more than 2 differences. So that's one difference is fine, but like if you don't want more than one difference, fine. Like border values, strict values, so all those things you can write. So how would you want to make these enums also? A lot of things I added here. The real-time use cases. Hope you remember the weekdays we did. So that if you want the extra methods to it, like total I am doing. So users can ask the weekdays, what are the weekdays? So apart from this, they have, so the other things. They can ask that what is Saturday, what is Friday. So all these things they can ask. At the same time, they can ask what is the total. So total is like doing the operation and printing. It's not returning. So that's the reason here you're getting a none. But today is Sunday, it is happening, right? So like that, if you want to do like enums with some methods also, we can do. So for that, I am doing like class methods. See here. So this class methods work with classes only. Instance methods work with instances only. Whereas static methods work with both classes and instances. So this is all about these classes.